she's coming in person.
Yep.
Okay, you can go now.
Okay, thanks. I'll repeat that. Good afternoon and welcome to the Health and Human Services Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 15th. The time is 1:01. And welcome to the legislature chambers. We are going to reorder some of our business around. We're going to start with public comment first. And I'm just going to go over the rules for speaking under privilege of the floor. Number 1, I agree to a 3-minute time limit. Number 2, I agree not to raise my voice. Number 3, I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. Number 4, I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. Number 5, after 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. Number 6, I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. Number 7, I agree that if I cause a disruption and am asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. First up is Amanda Kirsch-Gessner.
Hello, good afternoon. I am excited to see that there's going to be some discussion had about an advisory board for social services. From what I've been learning, it will be somewhat anemic, but perhaps it might be helpful in helping to navigate a lot of the issues that are presenting through the current administration and operation of the Code Blue Shelter, like as a lens for reflection. It's been very revealing. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the people who are the most vulnerable in our community don't feel safer or feel like they're going to be listened in places like this. I'm encountering that left and right. I invite dozens of people a week to come here and share about their experiences. I'm not entirely clear on how to be more forward-facing. I've had legislators, try to tell me, oh, well, I want to meet for coffee, but then it never materializes. And I'm very accommodating. I will meet with you on your schedule to discuss it. I'm more than happy to help conduit interactions with people who are currently housed in the shelter. I'm more than happy to introduce you to people who have been denied social services, which resulted in serious injury to their persons. I'd be more than happy to help any of you connect with Tompkins County residents, people who were born and raised here, just like myself, who have been harmed by a more attentive care, a community care response. We might call it, medical privacy. We might call it confidentiality violations. The fact of the matter is people don't talk about it because they don't feel like they're going to be heard and they haven't been helped. So, if our resources are involved with it, our county public resources are involved with it, we need to talk about it a little more openly, maybe not individuals in particular. And I would love to introduce you to some of these individuals who'd be more than happy to sit down and share their experiences and help illuminate where there are cracks and gaps that perhaps, we can bring in the expansion foam and make sure that we're not losing our neighbors through the gaps. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? Would you like to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. We'll give you 3 minutes here.
Yeah, my name is John Gladstone. I met Amanda here, maybe a month or so ago, maybe a little more than that, and she's helped me along the way with a lot of things. And I'm just reflecting on what she was talking about, safety in shelters and stuff, and DSS and their operations. And one day I went down I was taking care of an elderly guy. I'm 54, he's 80. And we found out we're sitting in a place where, an apartment where we were considered squatters. A friend of mine gave me this apartment. He said he didn't have, it was his, he had another one. You're more than welcome to stay because I had helped him out in the past. And As soon as we found out we were squatters, it's, that's illegal. In my mind, that's illegal. And we went right down to DSS, and we were homeless at that point. We had no place to go, Frazier and I, and the 80-year-old guy I help out. And we filled out all the paperwork, had everything in order, and we were denied shelter because she said we had to go back to the apartment. That was legal space. Well, it was quite telling and shocking to me to find that somebody would say that. I've done my share of bad things in my life, but I try to do the right thing now, and just telling me to go back and live someplace illegally, and I'm not blaming it on anybody. This is what can happen. I was spent 4 days in the hospital, because we had to go back to that place. And 2 days later, this happened. I look much better than what I did, but yeah, it was quite telling. And like I said, Amanda, she's willing to help. I'm willing to help. As from what I know, I know very little, but my life experience says a lot. I've been through a lot, so thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Thanks for coming in today. Okay, I am actually going to skip through the chair's report and reorder our business today so that we can go ahead and vote for some resolutions. Let's go ahead. Oops, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and go to the resolution under the County Administrator's Report, request to amend Tompkins County Opioid Settlement Fund Contract, OCFC, Cuga Addiction Recovery Services, CARS, ID 12965. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Amanda and seconded by Travis. Bridget or Corsa is here, are here.
Yes, and we also, I see, have representatives from CARS on the screen, so I would open it to them to provide a brief overview as to this request, and then you can address any questions.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica Jansen, and I currently work for Cayuga Health System, and I'm here representing CARS. We are requesting that this funding be repurposed because the original purpose, we have two changes. One, we've discovered that we can get a Narcan vending machine for free through New York Matters. And so rather than use this funding for that, we would like to repurpose it and still meet that, still get the Narcan vending machine. The second reason is because we have an opportunity to get a new electronic health record now that we have joined forces with Cayuga Health, which will afford us all of the same opportunities that the software that this grant covered is offering. And so we'd rather have the funding towards that than the current arrangement. So without getting into too many details, that's the overview, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions from committee members? Randy Brown?
This is more about the math. So the original grant was for $103,433, something like that?
Uh-huh.
So is there any money, the leftovers not being spent is my question. Because the revised expense is now $77,000. And so I'm just curious about the math. Is there any money left over, or is this going to expend all the funds?
This will expend all the funds. What you're seeing, Randy, that's a great question. What you're seeing is that some of the funds were spent on the software for Bell's AI, which we were able to use to inform the build of the Epic software that we're using now. So some of the money was spent towards Bell's AI initially, and it was fortunate that we did that because then we were able to use the knowledge that we gained from that in order to inform the build on the current software that we're going to be using starting hopefully in March. So that's why there's not the full amount identified here.
Okay,
but it will expend all the funds we were awarded, yes.
Amanda Champion?
Just a question. So if we switch this funding, are there any other regulations that we had to follow for originally from the settlement funds, or is it completely up to us to move it around? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I'm going to turn that question over to Norma.
Yeah, this does not have the same restrictions as the ARPA funds did.
Okay.
So, but it's coming to this committee because we don't have a committee that has oversight over this grant. So our next course was to come to you folks.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Norma or Jessica? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. And our next resolution is in the Whole Health Department Budget Adjustment, Whole Health Department Opioid Settlement Fund Housing Program, ID 12985. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Travis, seconded by Amanda Champion. And Frank and Jeremy, I believe, are here. Hi, Frank.
Hey, how are you doing? Just real quick, this was essentially an accounting error for us. We started in May of 2024 with this programming, and it was budgeted for 12 months, all in 2024. And then in 2025, it was budgeted from May to the end of the year for the next year of the contract. We just made a mistake in that it wasn't recognized that our fiscal year ends in December. So we should have had May to December in 2024 and then a full 12 months in 2025. So all we're really doing is shifting the additional funding for the first third of this year into the 2025 budget. There's no new funding. It's just correcting that accounting mistake that we had.
Great. Thanks, Frank. Any questions for Frank on resolution ID 12985? Okay, let's vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you. Next, let's go ahead and do our appointments to advisory boards. The Community Mental Health Services Mental Health Subcommittee, Benjamin Komar. Consumer Representative, term expires December 31st, 2028. Community Health Mental Services Developmental Disabilities Subcommittee, Nancy Saltzman. Community Member Representative, term expires December 31st, 2028. Community Health Services Substance Use Committee, Jessica Massaro. Community Member Representative, term expires December 31st. You know, there's not a year there.
Jessica expires in 2027.
Okay. 2027. Youth Services Board, Patty Van de Bogart, at-large member, term expires December 31st, 2027. Jennifer Dean, at-large member, term expires December 31st, 2027. Erica Crawley, at-large member, term expires December 31st, 2027. Can I have a mover, please, for these advisory board appointments? Moved by Travis, seconded by Randy. Any conversation? Also a reminder, we can go into executive session if confidential space is needed. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, 3-1 vote. Thank you. And last for our voting issues, we have minutes approval for December 12th, 2024. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Randy, seconded by Travis. Any corrections, comments, additions to those minutes? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous, a 4-0 vote. And why don't we go back to our first discussion option, which is the Department of Social Services Advisory Board. And this has come up a few times in our legislature meeting. We've also had some constituents reach out about their concern that we do not have an advisory board or an ability to receive formal feedback from constituents in our county. And so I had asked administration to please come back with some options for us. So Bridget has done some research and is here with some options.
Thank you, Shauna. So I have not necessarily done the research. I want to give credit where credit is due. Our clerk, Katrina McCloy, has done a lot of this research, and then Kit has been very helpful with providing some historical knowledge. Kit Kephart, our commissioner, about when we last in this county had such a body. So what I'll do is I'll provide sort of a high-level overview of what I believe the two options are for something that could advise on the issues at Department of Social Services. And then if you have any other questions, we'd be happy to take those down and we can do some further research at this point. The first option, which has been referenced in some of the public comment and the feedback we have got, is that there is, in fact, outlined in Social Services state regulation what is called an advisory council. It does specify in the regulation that the Social Services District shall establish an advisory council of which the membership shall be appointed by the Commissioner of Social Services. It then goes on to outline that there will be a minimum of 20 members, and then proceeds to outline what the membership shall be comprised of. The membership outlined in this regulation stipulates membership such as recipients of public assistance, providers of social services, medical services, and then members of the general public. So in this body, this, as I mentioned, would be appointed by the commissioner and would largely serve to advise the commissioner and the department itself. It would have no responsibility to report to the legislature, but they do have the opportunity to provide reports and updates if they so choose. It is my understanding from following up with Commissioner Kephart that the last time this existed in our county was around 2002. At that point, there was a transition in the commissioner leadership, and OTDA, the state regulatory agency, didn't really mandate. There has been no subsequent administrative directives to direct departments of social services to maintain this body. So that is when the last time this county had such a body, and Kit in her previous roles provided much of the staff support to that body. So she has some great historical knowledge on how that worked and what staff time was required in order to operate this council. So then the other structure that you're all very familiar with would be to establish an advisory board for the Department of Social Services that would be much like the other advisory boards for many of our other departments. You've just in fact approved some members today on your agenda. That would be established via a legislative resolution and would essentially go through the same process of establishing bylaws, outlining membership, and then those members would be, just like for other departments, would likely sort of be vetted through the Department of Social Services, but ultimately would be appointed by the legislature. And then they would be serving in an advisory capacity to the legislature. Did I get that right, Katrina? Okay. I think I'll just add that given the services being provided at DSS, there would need to be a bit of work, a bit of legwork ahead of time to really think through the parameters of the body, what they should and can discuss, what is sort of limited by regulations, et cetera, in terms of confidentiality. But we could work through all of those depending on which option the legislature prefers to go in.
Great. Thank you, Bridget. Sure. And Norma and Katrina and Maury. Randy?
Yes, I see Kit's here as well. On the advisory council, is there a defined list of things that they're going to review or counsel on?
So I can read just briefly from what the regulation states, and that is it is in an advisory capacity only in policy development, program planning, and program evaluation carried on by the Social Services District with respect to public assistance, medical assistance, and other services.
Do we want to think this over, or Travis?
So both types would be advisory only. The difference really is who selects the members, right?
Yes, that is correct. That is probably the biggest difference, and then obviously who they are advising. So in the advisory council under Department of Social Services, they're really advising the commissioner, whereas the advisory board to the legislature would be having more of an active role in advising the legislature.
Thank you.
Sure. Amanda?
Well, I guess my question for anyone and everyone is, I think this is great and it's fine, and I think what maybe the legislature wants is a board that comes back to the legislature and that we can interact with, and that's fine with me. I guess I'm just sort of wondering, what is it that we want these people to do? Like, what will they be discussing at a monthly meeting, and who has a voice at that table, and what's the point? I mean, having more discussion is great, and having people have a chance and a place to, bring up issues, but I guess I'm just a little unclear on like what will their work plan be?
I think, whenever I think about like what this looks like in my mind, I equate it a bit to the Office of Human Rights, in that they go out, I kind of see our commissioners of Office of Human Rights as ambassadors, and they go out into our community. They help people that feel like they have either been discriminated against, or they host educational events. They do a lot of things in our community to capture feedback. I think perhaps even combining the two ideas of the advisory council and an advisory board to the legislature, and including people that are receiving services, I think their voices are going to be super important, including providers, and then the general public. I don't think there is a way that we could do 20 members, because any advisory board that I've been a part of, the more members you have, the less really feedback you get and the less work you're able to do. So I think if we could keep it, to like 10 or so, that would be really helpful. As far as who it reports to, I think it's key that it reports to the legislature, because there seems to be a bit of a gap in how we're getting our information. And while it's great that Amanda is bringing in our friends in our community and they're able to talk to us during committee members and every other Tuesday, it would be nice if we have like a better conduit of information, because I think that's where things are falling in the cracks. So I personally would be all in favor of doing an advisory board to the legislature. We could probably use some of the bylaws that have been established by other committees, and then including providers, people that receive our services, and general public. Travis?
I agree, Shauna, and Amanda, to answer your question, I think about the shelter, for example, both what we have now and what we're going to be doing. And I do think that this group would be really important in advising us. Just like when we did the jail renovation, we had people with lived experience. We had people that worked with folks in the community, sit down with legislators and talk about what that could look like. And I think for the legislators, it was really eye-opening. I also think it was eye-opening for the community, because they got to hear from folks as well. And so when we put what it should look like together, I think it really represented the community, and I think it represented folks that would work in the jail, people responsible for the legislators. I often think about decisions that are made by us. I think many of the times we have people on the legislature who have had experiences or have worked in that field, real special interest in those areas. What I think happens a lot, though, is we don't actually hear from people in time to make better decisions. We hear from them, but a lot of times it's after the fact or right when we're close to kind of rolling out something. But to have people part of that process way ahead of time, I think just makes whatever we deliver that much better, because it's actually for people. And if those folks are in the room, then whatever happens, whatever we come up with, really, I think is just a better product that takes into account so much more. So for me, I think that would serve that's just an example of a purpose that would serve.
Thank you. Randy?
I think I support a board reporting directly to the legislature, but I've got a question or two. There was discussion, Bridget mentioned that there was quite a time commitment from DSS when they did the council. So I'd like to know more about that. Is there a lot of people involved in that? I think that, to Travis's point, people want to know they're being heard. And it's not just the people getting services, it's all the people that are providing all those services. And I look as an opportunity to, one, show the good things that DSS does do, because they do a lot of very good things and help a lot of people. But we need to look at it because, things have either fallen through the cracks or been misinterpreted or the process is just so, straight line that, you can't deviate from it. But I think it'd be helpful for the advisory council and the legislature to know and understand a lot more about DSS and how those processes work, whether it's SNAP or housing. So I like the idea of it reporting to the legislature. It makes sense, but I'm always open to hear what Kit may think. So.
Great. I think also some of the individuals that we missed as being part of that group would in fact be DSS staff, because I think we could sit in a room all day and talk about what we think is going on, but it's going to be important to actually have some fact finders in the room and people that are doing the work. I also want to be very clear that this advisory board is not going to be able to change policy that is dictated by our state and federal policy. As legislators, we're able to control some of the local pocket strings as far as the money goes. And so, an example of something we might choose to do in next year's budget is, maybe we hire someone to help with paperwork or, those are the things that we can contribute to and change. But, we're not going to be able to change, the fact that a certain form needs to be turned in or, someone's approval or denial of benefits. I just want to be very clear about that. Amanda?
Yeah, so to the point about staff, I think of some of our other boards, the EMC or the Water Resources Council, there's a staff person who knows about the department and all of that, and then there's often like a clerk who takes minutes and stuff like that. I guess, and just in thinking about those other boards, I think a lot of them function because they're community members. And I think you definitely need a staff person to be the liaison, but I think I would personally think it would be the majority would be outside of DSS. But there should definitely be a staff person, to answer questions and who knows what's going on. So,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You guys, that makes sense? Yeah. Okay. So I guess as far as this moving forward, what, I also want to ask Kit, our Commissioner, Kit Kephart is here, and see what Kit's ideas are here and feedback.
Hi, Shauna. I think all of what you folks have talked about is fine. I think that we will have to evaluate. I had a little bit of conversation with Bridget. I think we'll have to evaluate what kind of internal resources we will need. One of the things that tends to be generated by this kind of council, from my experience in the past, is there are many requests for presentations. DSS runs 13 different programs, all with different state, various regulatory bodies and oversight. There are many questions that come up, and people have a tendency to look up information themselves, research, come back to us, ask questions. So it can take considerable amount of resources inside DSS. So we may need to talk about with the next budget cycle, what are the resources we would need to be able to supply those answers and be able to provide timely responses. But otherwise, I think all of that sounds reasonable.
Great, thank you. So we'll leave this in your very capable hands, Katrina and Bridget and Corsa. Is that all right?
Just so to confirm, we're moving in the direction of a legislative advisory board. Okay. All right, so I'll work with you, Katrina. Thank you.
That's good. Amanda?
Which I assume would also have a legislator appointed to be the liaison or whatever. I don't know if they would be a voting member, but.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I think it would be nice too, maybe for the first year that this advisory board is intact, it would be great to receive some report outs. Because I know that we're all on advisory boards and these meetings get long, and you all do a great job of reporting back typically via email, but it would be nice to hear it.
Absolutely.
Amanda?
Sorry, just more thoughts. Just thinking back to the Human Rights Commission several years ago when that restructured and reorganized, we held interviews.
Yeah.
And we had, I think there was a small group of legislators who, but there was a lot of applicants, right? I think you were on that. So I guess I would want to see something like that where we were, putting it out to the whole community and everybody knows that they can apply and that we want diverse voices. And then because it's going to be advising the legislature, I think there should be a small group of legislators to go through the application process.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I think what's been really effective too is that the Community Services Board, I have seen advertisements all over the place, the radio, the newspaper, online, and I think they've had great response. There were 3 members that we just voted on here to join that board. So if we could really get the word out and get a nice pool of people that were interested, that would be great. Good.
That'll be something for our new communications director to jump right on when they're here.
That's totally right. So if we could, let's see here. I think we're going to skip through the department updates unless there is something really special with your department going on. As far as the committee priorities and goals, what I realized last year was that we had actually used the county administrator's committee priorities and goals. And so we're actually not going to go over that because my assumption is that Bridget and Corsa are going to go over their committee priorities and goals with their department heads at some point this year. And so we'll just go around and see.
This?
Yeah, that was theirs.
From this past year.
Yeah. And so it was printed out for legislators to see the departmental goals, and that was administration's goals that were set forth for their departments. Okay, and so we'll go around and, like I said, if there's a quick, 2 sentences or so as far as an update, that would be great. County Administrator, Bridget or Corsa?
I don't have a further report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Whole Health, Frank Krupa or Jeremy Porter?
Good afternoon, everyone. Just by way of report, I want to introduce Jeremy Porter, who will be serving as the interim commissioner after my departure on February 7th. So he's here today and will be at future meetings, and I'm confident you guys are in good hands with him. And just to say, this will be my last HHS meeting as commissioner for the county, and I just want to offer my thanks for the many years of support from the legislature to do the very important work of our department. And it would not have been possible without your support. And for that, I'm extremely appreciative. And I just want to say it's been an honor to serve in this role for the past 14 years. And I'm excited for the department and its future, and confident that you're in good hands. You have a great team, and that my successor will have a real strong place to jump off from and hopefully take the department to even bigger and better places. So thank you for your support and the opportunity to serve the county these last 14 years.
Great. Thank you, Frank. We're going to miss you. I have worked with you for 7 years, and it has been an absolute honor. You've always been very responsive and very helpful, and as far as I'm concerned, you have absolutely been a superhero for us getting through the pandemic and for keeping our community safe. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amanda Champion and then Travis.
Yeah, just echo that, Frank. Thank you so much for all your work and your time and your energy and your heart put into this community. And, you know, it's, you are the whole health department to me, so you will be missed. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Travis.
Frank, I remember meeting, I don't know what, 18 years ago at a leadership training we did for a week.
Yep.
And then watching the careers and then meeting again in the legislature and you at Whole Health, you'll be missed. And I wish you the best as you take the next step in your career.
Thank you, Travis.
Randy Brown.
Yes, thank you, Frank. I mentioned this before, but as somebody who was not on the legislature, was just a citizen observing all the COVID craziness from a distance, I thought that the county and the health department did very well. Communication was really good, and it was so many unknowns and a lot of scared people, so thank you. But back to business. So at the Community Mental Health Service Board meeting, we talked to Frank, let everybody know that he'd be leaving, and there were a few people on that board that were involved in the review of potential candidates when Frank was actually selected, and Stu Bergman and, I've forgotten the other person's name, but more than one person were on that review committee then, and they've expressed their interest again, so I just want to share that.
Great. Great. Well, thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And we'll start reaching out to Jeremy.
With all our questions.
Yes. Okay, let's see here. Next, we have Kit Kephart, DSS Commissioner.
Hi, just a quick update, just to let people know, we currently have about 84 people in shelter for THA, 68 adults and 16 children, a total of approximately 61 people in Code Blue sheltering, about 40 people utilizing the Code Blue shelter. And 2 families in Code Blue shelter presently. We are, as people know, we are currently taking steps to try to continue to expand shelter locations. We've hit some snags and likely won't be expanding into our new location until February, but we are working hard on that. And our main holdup right now on that is staffing. We have a number of positions that we're out there seeking shelter workers, supervisor positions in shelter, and on-call. So please pass the word as we seek people to make applications for those positions and try to expand our staffing. So those are on the county website.
Kit, I think there was a question in regards to needing a driver's license to be a shelter employee. Is that a local requirement, or is that something that is a state requirement?
It is not a regulatory requirement. It is, we are, with our newer site, we are going to need to transport people, and we're finding, although we haven't been able to get everybody trained, we're finding right now that there's that need. But we also have a real need for people to be able to pick up supplies. I know myself and the deputy have been doing things like going grocery shopping on the weekends and delivering things directly because we haven't been able to fully get everybody up and trained. So, there are many needs in terms of being able to drive if you're working in a shelter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Kit? Okay. Thank you, Kit.
Thank you.
And let's see, who else is on? J.R. Claiborne, Director of Veteran Services.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. And Happy New Year for anyone I haven't seen yet. Just a couple of quick things. Last night we had our bi-weekly meetings with our Warrior Writers Tompkins group, and it's just kind of exciting. We actually had a full house here, plus we had one more on Zoom, and it's about our third this year. I mean, third in the last few months where we've had just a full house of people. So that's been good to share, and it was a nice carryover from our holiday gathering that we used as our last session last month. And then I believe at our last meeting, I talked about our Army-Navy Watch Party coming up. So I'm happy to report that we had about 25 veterans and their families who attended. Of course, my department provided information for folks. Our Gold Star mom actually returned with children's activities, which resulted in a really cool gingerbread house. And I want to thank, special thanks to Maureen and the county clerk's office. Dennis from DMV came and he provided information for veterans about DMV veterans benefits through the DMV, including help give them information about the push for the real and enhanced IDs. So that was a pretty good thing. And the most important thing, go Navy. Our 3-year drought against the Army is done. We won.
Thank you, JR. Any questions or comments for JR? Travis?
JR, I finally got a chance to come over and visit yesterday. The work that Irel and them did looks really great. I did have 2 questions. One, I forgot to ask you, how do you get around? I know.
Go ahead.
No, I know you don't have a vehicle, so how do you get to all these places?
And thank you for your visit yesterday. It was good to be able to show off the area. Very proud of the work that facilities have done for us. And yeah, we do have a punch list, but hopefully we'll get to that, be able to get to that soon. As far as getting around, would have to, transportation wise, usually I have to go and borrow a car. Borrow a car generally from planning. I'll go over to the old jail to pick up the car at planning. I've used Kofa's cars before. It's been a little while, but I used to access assessments vehicles as well. So when I need to travel, I have to go borrow a car from someone. I don't have, my department does not have one.
I remember, it's got to be at least a year ago, so I don't remember it clearly, but I remember a conversation. I think I was asking maybe Norma at the time or Lisa to explain the Dwyer funds and how those can be used. My understanding was that they could be used for things that benefit veterans directly. Can you access Dwyer funds for a vehicle?
Yes, I can. That has to be, there's a process that the state has to substantiate that need, but then there also, as the county has its own questions or priorities for assessing that need as well.
Okay.
And I did do that this year, and there were some questions that were left unresolved, but it really came down to I need to have my department justify its need for its own vehicle in order to be able to allow us to add another vehicle to the county's fleet.
Got you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions or comments for JR? Okay, thanks, JR. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Lisa Monroe from the Office of Aging.
Hey there, just a couple things we're working on. So we completed and submitted our 4-year plan to the New York State Office for Aging last month. And now we're in the back and forth question and answer process, waiting our final approval, which we hope will happen soon. That will just allow us to receive our notifications of our final allocations, and we can continue to proceed with claiming them. Also, all the county offices for aging across the state have just recently received some program instructions from NYSOFA with requirements and changes to restructure our National Caregiver Family Support Program. So we're working on creating a new workflow, new policies and procedures to be in alignment with the Older Americans Act. So that all has to take place and be effective April 1st of this year. It's 2 big things we're working on right now.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments for Lisa? Travis?
Lisa, on my visit yesterday to Veterans, I went to the wrong door. There was a very nice person that told me where to go, but you can let them know they can buzz me, and I'm not gonna bite anybody.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. We appreciate it. Next, we have Kate Shanks Booth with Youth Services.
Yes, good afternoon. Just a couple of updates. We had a community conversation in December with some of the legislators came talking about youth homelessness, and we have planned the second round of conversations. We're dividing in those into two groups, 18 to 25 and under 18. On Tuesday the 21st, the under 18 conversation is going to be happening on Zoom from 1:30 to 2:30. And on Thursday the 23rd, the 18 to 25 conversation is going to be happening from 1 to 2 p.m. And so those are just some updates that I wanted to provide you today.
Great. Any other questions or any questions for Kate Shanks Booth? Okay, thank you, Kate. And then last but not least, I noticed that Cindy Wilcox is here from the Human Services Coalition. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks, Shauna. Just a very quick update. We did receive a grant through the Community Services Society to continue our work on Keep New York Covered, which is our outreach program to ensure folks stay insured via health insurance. So our community health advocate and our health insurance navigator work together to just make sure folks continue to be insured in our community. So we received about $20,000 from New York State. So
that's great.
Happy about that.
Great, thank you. Randy Brown?
Yes, hi, Cindy. I know you guys took over the what was called Way to Go and a transition there, and I'm just curious how that was going and if the transition went smoothly between the two organizations.
Yes, thanks, Randy. Yep, the transition has happened. We really haven't ramped up the Way to Go, the integration really of Way to Go quite yet, because it happened right at the very end of 2024. But that is part of a larger transportation initiative, of course, that we're partnering with the Tompkins County Planning and Sustainability Department, Frank Doldo, and Transportation. So there will be definitely more to come on that. But the transition was smooth. CCE is a great partner with us as well. So I don't anticipate any issues. And I believe that our transportation services will just continue to grow.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Great, I don't see any other questions for you. Thank you, Cindy, appreciate it. And last but not least on our agenda, we actually are gonna have an executive session. So if I can have a mover.
Shauna, the budget adjustment.
I'm sorry?
Do you want to mention the budget adjustment?
Oh, did we?
No, not for, just for information.
Oh, the information.
Oh, yeah, there is an information item, budget adjustment, Youth Services Department, year-end cleanup.
Thank you.
I think it's, I've written all over my agenda, but I think it's 1298, maybe 37, I don't know.
Close enough.
Whatever that is, yes. Just know it's down there.
I can't remember that.
Okay, if I could have a mover for us to enter into executive session for the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. A mover, please. Moved by Randy, seconded by Travis. And all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. We'll take a few minutes to go offline, and then we'll reconvene for executive session. No action will be taken after that. Thank you.